Donald Trump has found his latest enemy, and it's maybe somewhat slightly surprising. It's Google, who he's decided to take on because he believes they've rigged their search results precisely to upset and undermine him. He is essentially saying that when he searches for himself or when someone else searches for him, he sees all sorts of bad news about himself. You might say that's natural given most people seem to be opposed to him, but you can make the argument that there should at least be something good about what he's been up to. From Google's side, it's sort of hard to say what they'd say in response because the algorithm that they use is mostly mysterious. We know some things about it. We know, for instance, that it likes it when a certain page is kind of established, when other people link to it, when it tends to tell the truth, when it's kind of mainstream in some way. We also know that it seems to penalise people if they tend to say fake stories or attack people needlessly or otherwise just do kind of bad journalism. But we don't know exactly how it does that. When you search for something on Google, it takes the words you've put in, searches it against this vast database of web pages and decides what's most relevant. The mystery is how it does that decision. We know it does so on an algorithm that takes all sorts of inputs about those websites and decides on that basis which of them is likely to be the best way of answering your query. Now if you're searching for something normal like how to change a light bulb, then it's quite obvious that it probably is just going to look for the most detailed, accurate explanation of how to change a light bulb. Things get a bit more complicated when you're searching about the president, and especially one that is so widely loved and also loathed. So as far as we know, they're trying to offset all of that hype and excitement by looking at things like how established the website is. Do people tend to link to it and talk about it? Is it kind of properly set up in terms of the technology that runs on it? Now inevitably when you put all that together, it's going to benefit websites like the New York Times and CNN, both of which Trump has voiced his dislike for, because they are established and the technology powering them is strong and the journalism is for the most part very accurate and very true. That also means that if you search for Trump news, you're going to get things from those kind of mainstream, relatively liberal maybe outlets that he's seeing and that upset him so much. The inverse is that all of those websites that really adore Trump, that tend to be a bit newer, that tend to be built on slightly more shaky technology and that tend to sometimes report false news, are going to be penalised and so aren't always going to come up even if the president wants them to. That's something that can be seen on both sides. You see newer, more leftist websites often penalised on Google too, and they're usually nowhere to be seen. There almost certainly isn't someone sat at Google typing into the algorithm just so it privileges things that make Trump look bad. What he sees as biased against him is really just Google's bias towards legitimacy, mainstreamness and truth. But it's really hard to make that argument on Google's behalf because they won't tell us how the algorithm works or what it's looking for. So Trump's wrong, but it's hard to say exactly how wrong and why.